This video is not for weak men. Weak men already know they're losing. They feel it every day. They've accepted it. This video is for the good ones, the loyal ones, the men who showed up, who loved deeply, who stayed when others walked away, who gave everything and asked for nothing in return. And those men, those are the ones bleeding the most right now. Machiavelli wrote something that most people are afraid to quote. He said, "The most dangerous man on the battlefield is not the villain, it is the good man with no strategy." Because a good man without a frame doesn't just lose. He opens the gate himself. He hands over the key, and he smiles while doing it. That's what's happening to you. Society handed you a script. It told you that love means sacrifice, that loyalty means putting her first, that being a good man means always being available, always explaining yourself, always making sure she's okay. And it destroyed you quietly. You did everything right. You texted first. You explained yourself clearly. You made yourself available. You were honest. You were present. And still, somewhere along the way, she pulled back, or she lost respect, or the attraction just disappeared without explanation. It wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because kindness without direction is a weapon pointed at yourself. These 9 things I'm about to show you are not about becoming cold, not about manipulation. This is about understanding how power actually moves in a relationship before it's too late. Let's begin with the mistake almost every man makes in the first conversation. Chapter 1. Mistakes in how you present yourself. 1. Never explain yourself. She asks, "Why didn't you reply sooner?" And you start. The meeting ran long. Your phone died. You were with a friend and didn't want to be rude. Stop. The moment you opened your mouth to explain, you lost. Not because you were wrong, but because you just walked into a courtroom you built yourself and handed her the judge's robe. This is what psychologists call submissive framing. Every explanation is a quiet signal. It says, "Your approval determines my standing." And she feels that. Not intellectually, she feels it in the energy behind your words. Machiavelli understood this at the level of kings and courts. He wrote that the ruler who constantly justifies his decisions creates suspicion where none existed. The prince does not explain his decree to the people, not because he is above them, but because explanation is the language of the accused. Here's the part nobody talks about. The most dangerous version of this isn't the obvious explanation. It's when a man explains his silence. "I didn't text because I wanted to give you space." That sentence sounds mature, considerate even. But read it again. You just apologized for not texting. You turned your silence into something that needed a defense. Real silence needs no defense. Real silence just exists. Weighted, intentional, unshakable. When you stop explaining, something shifts. She stops questioning. Not because she's satisfied with the answer, but because your stillness communicates something words never could, that you are grounded in yourself, that you do not require her understanding to feel secure. Mystery doesn't hide weakness, it creates value. Say what needs to be said, once, clearly, then stop. Let the silence carry the rest, because the man who speaks less is always perceived as the man who knows more. And perception, not truth, is what shapes attraction. 2. Never chase her. Chase the better version of yourself. Here's the truth that will sting. When you chase her, you are not chasing her, you are chasing the feeling of fullness she temporarily gave you. She is not the destination. She is the symbol of something missing inside you. And until you see that clearly, you will keep running toward women trying to fill a gap that no one else can touch. Think about the last time you doubled texted, refreshed the conversation, sent something just to keep it alive. You told yourself it was care, it was interest, it was being a good communicator. She felt something different. She felt the weight of your need pressing through the screen, not through any single message, through the energy of all of them together. Desperation has a scent. And it travels through text. Machiavelli wrote that men who beg for loyalty will never command it. Loyalty like respect, is not created by pursuit. It is created by gravitational presence, the kind that pulls without reaching. This is what perceived scarcity actually means. Not playing games, not fake unavailability. It means you genuinely have something more important to build. A man consumed by his own mission doesn't have hours to spend refreshing a conversation, and that real, authentic investment in himself is the most attractive force he can possess. When you chase, you declare yourself the less valuable one in the dynamic. You place her above you without a single word, and she feels that shift instantly. Drop the chase. Not as a tactic, as a truth. You are not incomplete without her attention. You are a man with a direction. Invite her to walk beside that direction. If she chooses not to, that is information, not rejection. Comment below if you've ever caught yourself chasing someone who was pulling away. Because every man reading this has been there, and most of them never understood why it never worked. The answer is simple. You cannot chase your way into someone's respect. 3. Never tell her your whole story too soon. Most men end up in the friend zone not because they weren't attractive enough. They end up there because they answered questions that were never asked. You met her, the chemistry felt real, and within days you were sharing childhood wounds, past heartbreaks, hidden fears and secret dreams. It felt deep. You thought openness was connection. It wasn't. It was saturation. Here's what actually happens in the mind when you reveal everything at once. There is a psychological principle called the Zeigarnik Effect. The human mind obsesses over what is unfinished, what is incomplete, what hasn't been fully understood yet. The moment you complete the picture, the obsession ends. You handed her the entire film before she bought a ticket. No cliffhanger, no mystery, no reason to lean forward and wonder what's behind the curtain. The story was over before it began. Machiavelli called this controlled revelation. The wise man does not hide because he is afraid. He controls the release of himself because he understands that information is power, and power freely given is power permanently lost. Every layer of yourself that you share should be earned, not extracted from you in the first week of excitement. This is not about being fake. It is about being rare. Think about the men who have stayed in your mind the longest. The ones you couldn't quite figure out. The ones with the quiet depth you kept wanting to explore. They weren't hiding. They were simply not handing themselves over. The man who reveals himself slowly is the man she keeps thinking about after she puts her phone down. The man who tells her everything in the first week becomes comfortable, expected, familiar, and familiarity is where attraction goes to die. Protect your story, not forever, but for the right moment, because what's given freely is forgotten quickly, and what's earned is never taken for granted. Chapter 2. Mistakes in how you react to her. 4. Never try to change her. The mood swings, the contradictions, the self-destructive patterns that break your heart, because you can see exactly what she could be if she just shifted one thing. So you try, you suggest, you guide, you stay patient when she spirals. You explain things calmly. You think this is love. It is not love. It is arrogance wearing love's face. The belief that your care can rewrite another person's nature is one of the most expensive illusions a man can carry. And it will cost you more than time. Machiavelli was precise about this. He warned that attempting to reform those who have not asked to be reformed will never be received as strength. It will always be received as control. And control, even when it comes from genuine love, creates resistance. Every single time. But there's a deeper layer here that most men miss. Every time you step into her emotional storm to fix it, you are making an announcement. You are saying, "This storm is stronger than my stillness." You are letting her chaos define your state. And a man whose state is defined by someone else's emotions cannot lead anyone, including himself. This is what she is actually sensing when she pulls away from men who try too hard to help. Not ingratitude, instinct. The primal part of her recognizes that a man who can be destabilized by her mood cannot be her anchor. She doesn't need you to solve the storm. She needs to feel that the storm cannot reach you. Your calm is not indifference. Your calm is the only proof that you are capable of being the place she returns to when everything else is falling apart. Stand at the edge, steady, quiet, unmoved, not because you don't care, but because caring without losing yourself is the highest form of strength a man can show. Let her find her way back. She will trust the man who stayed grounded far more than the man who jumped in after her. 5. Never be available all the time. You think constant availability is proof of love, that always being there shows her how much she matters. It shows her something else entirely. It shows her that you have nothing more important to do. And nothing kills desire faster than a man who is always reachable, always present, always ready, regardless of how she treats him. Here is the mechanism that no one talks about. It is called intermittent reinforcement, and it is the reason slot machines are more addictive than a guaranteed paycheck. The human brain does not become obsessed with what is certain. It becomes obsessed with what might disappear. Casinos understand this. They don't let you win every time. They let you win just enough, at unpredictable moments. And that unpredictability creates a grip that certainty never could. You have been giving her a guaranteed paycheck, every text answered in 30 seconds, every plan adjusted to match her availability, every silence on her end met with your noise. She doesn't feel lucky to have you. She feels that you are simply there, and what is simply there is never truly valued. Think about a specific moment. She texts late. You reply instantly. She doesn't text for 2 days. You send a follow-up. She cancels plans. You rearrange your week. And slowly, without realizing it, you have trained her to understand that there are no consequences to how she treats your time. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who is always accessible loses the aura of authority. What is rare is valued. What is abundant is ignored. This is not about playing games or manufacturing distance. It is about genuinely having a life that takes priority over managing her attention levels. When you are truly invested in your own work, your own growth, you become naturally unavailable at certain moments. And that natural unavailability creates the one thing that manufactured availability destroys completely: curiosity. Be present enough that she feels you. Be absent enough that she wonders about you. Most men never find that balance, and those who do never have to chase anyone again. 6. Never try to make her happy. This is the one that will feel wrong to read. Stay with it. Do not try to make her happy. Not because her happiness doesn't matter, but because the moment making her happy becomes your mission, you have handed her the controls to your entire direction. You are no longer the man moving forward. You are the man adjusting his speed based on her emotional weather report. Watch what this looks like in real life. She's upset. You cancel everything. You call repeatedly. You look for the right words, the right gesture, the right version of yourself that will bring the smile back. And when she finally does smile, you breathe again. You feel like you succeeded. But here's what actually happened. You just demonstrated that her emotional state has the power to shut down your world. She didn't ask for that power. You gave it to her. And unconsciously, she registered it. The man in front of her is calibrated to her moods. He moves when she hurts. He stops when she withdraws. That is not a partner. That is a mirror she didn't ask for. Machiavelli observed that the ruler who governs purely to please those around him will eventually be governed by them. The dynamic inverts quietly, and by the time he notices, the authority is already gone. The men who create the deepest happiness in relationships are not the ones trying hardest to create it. They are the ones living so fully, so purposefully, so completely within themselves that their presence radiates something she cannot manufacture on her own. She is not happy because he performed for her. She is happy because standing next to him, she feels something she rarely feels anywhere else: stability, depth. A man who does not need her to be okay in order to be okay himself. That is what she is actually drawn to. Not effort, presence. Be the man whose existence creates peace, not the man whose existence depends on hers. Chapter 3. Mistakes in your inner foundation. 7. Never give your loyalty before it's being tested. Most men hand over loyalty like it has an expiration date. Faithful, devoted, consistent, all in from the first week, giving everything to someone who has not yet shown a single piece of who they really are under pressure. This is not love. This is naivety dressed in the language of strength. Machiavelli wrote with brutal precision on this point. He said, never trust auxiliary forces before they have been tested in small battles, because they will fail you in the great ones. He was writing about armies, but he was describing every relationship you have ever walked into blind. Character does not reveal itself in the good moments. Anyone can be warm when things are easy. Anyone can be loving when there is no friction. Character reveals itself in the small pressures. How does she respond when you say no to something she wants? How does she treat you when she's tired or stressed? What does her behavior look like when you're not performing at your best? Does she become cold? Does she punish with silence? Does she create drama to test your reaction? Those small moments are not insignificant. They are the data. A wise man does not go all in before reading the data. He watches. He creates small situations that reveal real behavior. He gives a little and observes what comes back. He pulls back slightly and notices if she moves toward him or uses the distance to push further away. This is not manipulation. This is intelligence applied to the most important decision of a man's life. Because loyalty is not a gift, it is an investment. And every investment demands evidence before full commitment. The man who gives his full loyalty before it's earned does not look devoted. He looks desperate. And it teaches her, without a single word, that his commitment has no requirements, that she can behave in any way and still retain his full devotion. Test small before you trust completely. It is not coldness, it is wisdom. And the woman who is worth your loyalty will pass those tests without even knowing she's being tested. 8. Never argue to win. Men think winning the argument means winning. It doesn't. Every time you win an argument with her, you lose something else. Not because you were wrong, but because needing her to admit you were right reveals something you didn't intend to show. It reveals that her validation is still something you're fighting for, and that is a dependency wearing the mask of confidence. Picture the argument that lasted 2 hours. You laid out the logic, you presented the evidence, you were patient, articulate, clear, you won. She went quiet, and you sat there feeling hollow, because somewhere in the victory you realized that no one actually won anything. Epictetus said something that cuts through all of this. He said it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. The man who argues to win has already closed the door. He is not searching for truth. He is searching for confirmation. And searching for confirmation is a need, and needs are leverage points. And leverage points are vulnerabilities. Machiavelli put it differently. He said the wise man does not fight every battle. He chooses the battles that shift the war. Not every disagreement deserves your full engagement. Some conversations are traps built from mismatched emotional states. And the man who recognizes a trap does not step into it to prove he can escape. He steps around it. When a conversation becomes a loop, when the same point is being restated louder with no new information being exchanged, the powerful move is not to push harder. It is to say calmly and without apology, "We're not going to agree on this today," and then let it go completely. That is not surrender. That is frame control at its most precise. The man who truly knows his own ground does not need her to acknowledge it. He knows it. That knowing is enough, and that quiet certainty is more persuasive than any argument he could ever win. 9. Never apologize for your standards. Standards are not a list of demands you place on her. Standards are the line you draw for yourself, the line that defines what you will accept and what you will not. The line that communicates without a single word who you are and what you consider worth your time. When you apologize for that line, you are not being humble. You are negotiating your own worth. And a man who negotiates his worth will always end up emotionally underpaid. Machiavelli wrote that mercy without measure becomes weakness. The man who tolerates everything controls nothing. He was not writing about cruelty. He was writing about the quiet destruction that comes from accepting behavior that violates your own sense of what is acceptable. Here's what that actually looks like. She cancels plans for the third time. You smile and say it's fine. Inside you know something is wrong, but you stay quiet because you don't want to seem controlling, because you don't want to create conflict, because you'd rather absorb it than address it. And in that silence, without realizing it, you just taught her something. You taught her that there are no consequences here, that she can do this again and again. And the standard you never voiced became the standard she assumed you didn't have. You trained her to take you for granted, gently, with a smile. Here is the thing about standards that most men never discover. The right woman will not experience your standards as a wall. She will experience them as safety, because your standards say, I know who I am. I know what I want. I will not compromise that for the sake of keeping the peace. That is the foundation of genuine respect. Not performance, not perfection. Just a man who knows his own ground and does not move off it for comfort. Stand firm, be polite, be clear, be unmovable. Because the woman who sees your value will never ask you to lower the price. Look at these 9 things again. You explain yourself because you need to be understood. You chase because you're afraid of your own emptiness. You reveal everything too soon because you're hungry for connection. You try to change her because you need her to be perfect, so you can feel okay. You're always available because you're terrified of being forgotten. You try to make her happy because her approval has become your measure of worth. You give loyalty before it's earned because you need to belong to someone. You argue to win because you still need her to confirm you're right. You apologize for your standards because you're afraid of being rejected. Every single one of them. The same root. I am not enough unless someone confirms it. Machiavelli wrote the line that explains all of this in 4 words. The man who cannot rule himself will always be ruled by others. Not by enemies, not by society, by the hunger for approval that he never had the courage to face directly. These 9 things are not about winning in relationships, not about manipulating anyone. This is about becoming the man you were before the world taught you that your value depends on someone else's response to you. Heal that wound, not for her, for the kingdom you were born to build, and never started because you were too busy waiting for someone to tell you that you were allowed to. If you made it to the end of this, you are not like most people. You are the kind of man this content was made for. Subscribe. But because you just decided to see clearly, and that kind of vision doesn't go backward. See you next video.